Hello, and welcome to another Arizona Hip Historian Virtual Happy Hour Tour. I am Brenda Holt with AARP Arizona. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that is dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. And with a nationwide presence of nearly 38 million members across the nation, and over 900,000 right here in Arizona, we work to strengthen communities and we advocate for what matters most to families, such as health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment, to name a few. During the months of May and June, we will focus on healthy living and amplify the call to action for the 50-plus community to develop healthy habits for mental well-being. As the country continues to grapple with the ebbs and flows of the COVID-19 pandemic, many are eager to move into a sense of normalcy. Many in the 50-plus community have developed coping mechanisms that show a strong sense of resiliency and the need to anchor themselves. Ongoing public health concerns, economic issues, and global conflicts are still weighing on older adults. By covering topics like sleep, stress management, healthy eating, and exercise, AARP demonstrates that its healthy living offerings can help Americans develop and maintain healthy habits for their mental well-being. Visit us for resources and information at www.aarp.org/mental health or at www.aarp.org/Arizona. Thank you for attending tonight's session. Have a good evening.
Welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Well, hello and good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. Have we got a great show for you tonight? Oh my gosh, just you wait. And, I want to welcome you all here. We've got folks watching all over the place, which is always fantastic. So my name is Marshall Shore, and I will be your host on June 9th today. So I always like to talk a little bit about, what's going on in the world right now. Well, back in 1894, out in Globe, Arizona, not that far from here at all, there was a fire that destroyed pretty much the entire town. It has been since rebuilt, and if you haven't been to go out in Globe, it's well worth a visit to go have some fun and see a quirky little fun mining town. All right. So also today is National Donald Duck Day. And as we are talking about kind of graphic history, that's kind of going to be our theme for the show. I thought it was kind of funny that it was like, it's Donald Duck's birthday. So on this date back in 1934, he made his silver screen appearance in a movie called The Wise Little Hen. And since then, he has been in more Disney movies than any other Disney character. It is also International Dark and Stormy Day for that cocktail. I didn't realize it was originally ginger beer was first made by British Navy to kind of settle a sick stomach. And of course, someone was like, well, what can we then do with this? And they so added a little bit of their local rum to it, thereby creating the dark and stormy, which people are still enjoying today. And it is also National Rhubarb Strawberry Pie Day. Now, what I think is interesting about that is that you've got a fruit, strawberry, and a vegetable, rhubarb, together in the same dessert. Now, I know it was something very popular back in Indiana, kind of back in the farm country where people had rhubarb just growing wild. So, I don't know how people actually have had. I bet Donald Duck would drink a dark and stormy. I know I have, and they're quite tasty. So, what can you expect out of tonight? Well, we've always got a little bit of Arizona trivia coming up. We do From the Vault, which is typically something kind of in plain sight that you might not notice or even know is there. We do a little bit of Arizona music history, as well as a small town in Arizona. We indeed always have a beverage, as well as a special guest. And so, if this is your first time watching, you might wonder, who is that man and why is he on my screen? Well, as I said, my name is Marshall Shore, and I got here about 22 years ago. I was living in Brooklyn, working in a beautiful Carnegie building, and traded that all for a little 1950 branch library for the city of Phoenix that had a rich oral tradition of the community. And that got me going on what I'm doing today, sharing more of that modern history. We promptly moved into a 1956 ranch house that I'm happy to say is no longer oh so many tones of beige. It is just 2 tones, seafoam and cantaloupe. There's what my kitchen looks like today. And hello, Doreen. Good to see you here. So there's what my kitchen looks like. It's a sea of butter cream yellow tile and mahogany veneered cabinetry. Oh, Pam, that's interesting. I wonder if strawberry rhubarb pie maybe was a more of an Indiana thing. I don't know, because most people have never even heard of it. So yeah, so there's what my kitchen looks like today. Now, as soon as I got to Arizona, all I heard about was there's no history here. But I knew that wasn't true, as every time I'd go on my bike, on foot, on car, I would find so many amazing people, places, and things. Oh my gosh. And Mr. Quincy, good to see you here. And so, I also like to say that kind of the Arizona that we know and love today, I think also was brought about by that post-war boom. All those GIs that either were stationed here, trained here, or passed on their way to somewhere else. And after the war, they were moving here in huge numbers, looking for a whole new way of life, which they pretty much found. So I'm also called the hip historian, which means I get to play a lot with Arizona history. So I just last night for Phoenix Library, we did an LGBTQ history in Arizona. Coming up, we have, I think later this month and next month, we have some Disney in Arizona, which I've been thinking of renaming Disney Zona. Not quite sure if that works, but you always play around with things. So I see many of you have found the chat. Please feel free to use the chat, as well as if you don't get something in there, you can always throw a note to me on Facebook, Instagram, email, or even via my good old-fashioned website. So I always love to give a shout out to PJ, my cocktail advisor. And so tonight we are drinking Howling Oats. I don't know if that's a play on Holland Oats, but the beer can was designed by Christian Hauda. He is actually the marketing director for Phoenix Brewing Company, as well as the artist for most of their beer. And so this was just such an iconic Arizona scene. The coyote howling at the moon. Although I said, it'd be really 80s, it needed a bandana on it to kind of place it in that time. Oh, and that's really nice. All right. So now we're going to talk about Little Arizona. I talk about being from New York, but, I really grew up in a little tiny town in Indiana. And I kind of have an appreciation for big city and small city. So we're going to talk about in Cochise County, a little town called Bowie, Arizona. I always have to make sure that I don't pronounce it like David Bowie. Not, it's more like the knife, Bowie. And so basically, it started off as Fort Bowie in the Apache Pass, which was declared a national landmark back in 1960. And if you go out there today, you can still see remains of those original structures. As well as you look around, you'll find Hot Wells Dune, which really came about by accident. They were drilling for oil and they struck water. And so that water ran at 106 degrees. And so it still runs to this day. And so you can go out there and soak in hot mineral water out in Hot Wells Dune. And there's also dunes, in case you were wondering, why was it called dunes? As well as they had some really cool iconic structures that are still standing, a little worse for the wear. They have Geronimo's Castle, which was supposedly said to be where he was captured. But we know that that is indeed not true. So many places made up a story about how they were connected to history to try and lure tourists to come in and spend their money. But it has been vacant for a number of years, and there's always hope that somebody will revive it and bring it back to life. I mean, here you have an iconic kind of a concrete teepee, which used to be all over the Southwest. We still have a few here in Arizona. As well as at Home on the Range, which had a great little neon sign. The sign is gone. A lot of the decorative arts and painting is gone, but at least the building has survived. It is also where that 1980s action movie franchise of Rambo, it is where the character was supposedly born, played by Sylvester Stallone. So he was supposedly born in Bowie, Arizona. So they do a lot of things to celebrate him. So go on out and celebrate with, with a painting of Sylvester Stallone, because I don't think he really shows up to town much. All right. And now we get to bring on our special guest. So we have my friend Jonathan who's coming on, and we are going to have some fun. So I hope you're indeed ready for that. All right. Well, hello there.
Hello.
How's your night going?
It is going all right.
So Jonathan, for folks who don't know about you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a local artist. I've been published and stuff in magazines and been in galleries. I guess you could say I do vintage style art, I guess, vintage inspired art, black velvet, kitschy art, stuff like that, cartoons. Let's just stick to kitschy art. 50s, 60s, a very specific guy. I love emulating. I love the style of the 50s and 60s, like art forms and stuff like that.
So where do you get inspiration from?
So I would say, I guess it came from kind of the car culture. I grew up, my dad was very into like muscle cars and stuff. I guess it's from the music and the car culture. It all kind of came together. So I was really heavily into the Rat Fink, Ed Roth stuff and all of that. And then I started it just got more and more niche. It just got more and more like specific. Like I started looking at the decals. I love the design of the decals and the music. I looked at the records. I listened to the music. I went back from the 80s back. You just start thinking about, you start looking at the record labels. You start thinking about the printing styles and everything. Anyways, to keep it summarized, that's pretty much where it started. Music and just, I guess, car culture, I guess. So.
Very good. All right. So we've got some trivia so we do trivia a little differently here at Happy Hour. So unlike a lot of places where all that they care about is what's the answer, the fun part of this is we're going to go through the questions and multiple choice answers. And then what you can do is stick around, because we'll wind up going through the answers and talking about the stories of those. So get ready for some fun, and you can keep track of some folks. Now, Francine may keep track. I don't think she will. Keep track of her answers in the chat. She is more the type of person that'll keep track of it on a pad of paper off to the side. So
Cool.
All right. So our first question is, where was Reg Manning born? All right. Was it A, Kansas City, Missouri? B, Sholo, Arizona? C, Lubbock, Texas? Or D, Charlotte, North Carolina? So where do you think Reg Manning was born? All right. While you're locking in that answer, we're moving on. When was the first published Arizona Days and Ways? But Andres, you soon will. So that's why it's a multiple choice. So you just have to guess an answer. Maybe you'll be right. I mean, last week, my friend Anita did really well, and it was all on sheer guesses. But I can guarantee you, after tonight, you will know who he is. All right. So that first published Arizona Days and Ways was when? Was it A, 1912, B, 1943, C, 1953, or D, 1962? Arizona Days and Ways, what year did it start? All right. Who bought out the Blakey gas stations back in 1960? Was it A, Mobil, B, Exxon, C, Sinclair, or D, Gulf? So Blakey gas station. Who bought it out? All right. Moving on to question 4. What was the mascot for the local transit system? Was it A, a cactus? Was it B, a rattlesnake? C, a prospector? Or D, a sun? So there was a local transit system here that had a mascot. And what character did it use? All right, midway point, question 5. Which local mascot was sculpted by a Disney designer for a local coffee shop / diner that is no longer around? So that's a little clue that at least gets rid of at least one answer. All right. So was it A, Coffee Dan's, B, Googie's, C, Hobo Joe's, or D, Mel's? And Art, wait a minute. That mug? Are you trying to give away an answer?
Well, there's nothing on this mug. What are you talking about?
Okay. I have a feeling later on you're going to return that mug around and reveal the answer.
I probably will.
All right. So question 6. Back in 1939, what industrial fixture did Reg Manning help the city of Phoenix design? And was it A, a mailbox, B, a trash can, C, a lamppost, or D, a bench? So Reg Manning designed something that you can still see today. It was one of those items. Question 7. What local cartoonist had a contract with Webb for Sun City? Was it A, Kearney Egerton, B, Walt Ditson, C, Thomas R. Ellenwood, or D, Ashton B. Collins Sr.? Well, that's quite an official sounding name. Should be Esquire after that, it sounds like. Ashton B. Collins Sr. Esquire.
I say.
Indeed. Break out the monocle. All right. So let's move on to question 8. True or false? Did the Arizona State Fair use cartooning design to advertise the yearly event? And that yearly event would, of course, be the Arizona State Fair. which is getting ready. October is going to come soon.
It's almost like 100 weeks away, or 100 days away. It's 100 days. Yeah.
Yes, like 100 days away. I mean, and hopefully the temperatures will get cooler by then.
I hope.
All right. So question 9. Artist Bert Anthony, who created and illustrated the ASU Sparky mascot, modeled this very well-known person after him. All right. So was Sparky based on A, Gomez Adams, B, John Waters, C, Walt Disney, or D, Vincent Price? I kind of wish the answer was all of the above. I would love to see the mascot that included all those facial features. All right. And our last question, question 10. Which artist settled in Arizona and did art for Legend City and adult cartoons in the 1970s? Wow, that's a lot of horns. Okay, so was it A, Wayne Horn, B, Doug Horn, C, Adam Horn, D, Chris Horn, or E, Lena Horn? Which artist do you think did art for Legend City as well as adult cartoons in the 70s? All right. So while you're locking in your final answers, we're going to take a little bit of an Arizona music break as we get a chance to talk about... Oh, I didn't put it in. That means it's somewhere else. Well, we're supposed to be talking about the twang heard round the world. Oh my gosh. So it's going to pop up somewhere else by surprise. But anyway, so Dwayne Eddy, who basically wound up in Southern Arizona, working at a radio station, hooked up with Lee Hazelwood, then recorded some songs, and they created a sound that created kind of the rockabilly, or even a lot of rock and roll, that twang heard round the world. And that is still famous to this day. All right. So, where was Reg Manning born? But first off, Jonathan, who is Reg Manning?
Well, Reg Manning's he's a cartoonist. He was born in Kansas City, Missouri. Moved out here, I think, can't believe, I think it was like the late teens. He moved out here and he worked for, trying to remember, he worked for the city of Phoenix doing just local ad agency stuff, just, stuff. He was also a photographer as well. But he's a cartoonist. He was an illustrator, cartoonist, and designer. He did a lot of things. And there's another answer that would prove the fact.
Indeed. So here we have one of his books. It's probably one of the most famous. He did a whole series of these kind of tongue-in-cheek cartoon books, like What is Arizona Really Like?
His stuff is very, I don't know how you'd say, it's very happy looking. Everything's very bulb. A lot of cartoon stuff is very bulbous, but like his face shapes and everything, very known for his like cactus book. What is it? Right. Is it cactus? What is it? Or Who Done It or something? I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Right, and like that cactus candy that is still sold today for tourists, that is a Reg Manning design. It's one of those things where you see his design, you know exactly who it is.
He even did salt and pepper shakers as well.
So you were talking about how the one ad on the left is one from, now was this in Arizona Days and Ways?
It was from Arizona Days and Ways. Last Saturday, I went to the library, went to the Arizona section. Had a wonderful time. I recommend everybody go into the Phoenix Burton Bar Library and just go into the Arizona section and just, bring a bottle of water. They probably won't let you bring anything to eat or anything, but just sit in there for a few hours and just look through anything on those shelves. It's fantastic. You'll have a fun time. But I found this in the Arizona Days and Ways, and if you see it, this Hispanic fellow, he doesn't have the Reg Manning signature on it, but that is most definitely Reg Manning, and that's a great example of a cartoonist working for an ad agency, sometimes you just didn't put your signature on things and just, this is what paid your bills. This is what kept food in your stomach. You just did stuff like this. And,
Right. A lot of times back then when artists had worked for companies, they didn't sign their name to it. They didn't own the rights to the image. It was like they were under contract. So the image and the work belonged to the original organization.
Yeah.
And so like the Sphinx Dates ranch, I mean, is still around. You can still get Sphinx Dates.
Oh yeah. I mean,
so
look at this little Hispanic fellow. Wouldn't you want to meet that guy at the gate? He's holding his platter full of dates. I mean, come on. So
Reg Manning was also a Pulitzer Prize winning artist.
He did that political cartoon. It won.
I mean, he did political cartoons. He did a wide variety of things. He was quite prolific in his writing, and I mean, just his drawing of doing so many different things.
I mean, we talked about the cactus already, but you cannot go wrong with those cactus cartoons. They're just like infamous. They're never going to go away. You'll always see them somewhere in Arizona. 50, 100 years from now, you're going to find it somewhere. So it's just, he's like the god of that. He's the god.
And playing up on all those kind of Arizona isms where it's like, oh, it's a dry heat.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. So question 2. So when was the first published Arizona Days and Ways? So first, what was Arizona Days and Ways?
It was a local magazine that came out each Sunday, and it would showcase a local artist, local company, local businesses. I mean, company, business, same thing. But it was kind of like the New Times in a way, but only on Sundays, and it was every Sunday. It was not, or no, wait, no, it was every month. I think it was every Sunday of every month. It was once a month. So it was like the New Times. So it just showcased, there was cartoons, there's ads, there was everything in it. Especially, they would always highlight 2 things. They would highlight a local artist or business, like I said. They would also have like a special person. And I was talking to you earlier. I was trying to figure out this one artist in there. There's a cartoon artist in there that did an illustration of somebody, and then he'd do like a little single panel of them doing something. And I went through a crap ton of them, and I could not figure out who the artist was. I tried looking for it. I couldn't figure it out, but I wish I had a photo of it. I forgot to take it, but Arizona Days and Ways, fantastic magazine. There's some great covers on Arizona Days and Ways. There was one, I think I sent it to you. There was a Halloween one. And just the color and the printing style, it was bright orange, super deep blue, and there was this like beautiful woman. She's holding a jack-o'-lantern and has a witch hat on. And it's just so cool. I think it was 1953, which when came out was the first year Arizona Days and Ways was introduced into the Phoenix, ephemera cycle of magazines and brochures and things. So there's just some great covers. And then Arizona Days Away started from 1953 and ended in 1966, which is another great year. That was another pivotal year of great things being introduced. You had the post-Beatles, post-war, you have everything. It was a new, so.
Well, and then I always keep handy, This Is Arizona, which is 1963 for their 10th anniversary. And so, it's so full of just local stories of personal interest that I know, gosh, we're going to talk about some of this stuff in just a moment.
If you want to read about Arizona and not a typical sort of boring way, like through just a hard covered book with no pictures. I'm a visual person. I love reading and looking at pictures. And this is just a great approach because you just get everything. You get everything. You could have
here's a great ad for the islands.
Absolutely.
That's just right for a t-shirt right there.
I think I even have an islands ad right here. I don't know if anybody can see that, but there's a pinup. There's one right there for the islands as well.
Oh yeah.
I keep a binder full of ephemera for reference and stuff like that. So.
Oh, and okay, so it's like flipping through here. It's like I just found, and I didn't even realize it was here. So in 1963, our Orpheum Theater had a variety of names, one of which was the Paramount, and I didn't realize that in 63 there. Oh, wait a minute, go back. There we go. So there is the neon sign outside of the Orpheum that says Paramount.
Look at that.
I didn't even realize that was there. So, that's half the fun of flipping through this and finding all kinds of things.
You just got to sit down and look at them. They're fantastic.
Yeah, and I love Arizona Days on Ways. I mean, it was like, that was some of the best reading when I was getting started trying to figure out what was some of the stuff that was going on. And they covered so much of just local interest.
I recommend the late 50s ones. The early 50s ones, they were still figuring things out. Towards the late 50s, you got more of a juicier, cooler magazine, much more interesting things. Like the earlier one, it was just kind of like, just advertisements and stuff like that. And they'd throw like a special spotlight for something going on. So.
Right. And local businesses and things that could not have afforded a national ad, but could have an ad. And so that brings us kind of to the next question.
Ooh.
Indeed. So who bought Blakey gas stations and why was Blakey so important?
Blakey is very important. I think we both know this. I mean, can we look at this photo right here? I mean,
oh my gosh. I mean,
there's a rocket ship taking off from a gas station, people. I mean, if you can't think anything cooler than a gas station with a rocket ship and like all of its ads and advertisement, I mean, this is the late 50s too. So like it's so atomic and space age for that time. I mean,
and they also, so they would take to the fair. They had like a rocket that kids could ride in.
I didn't even know that.
There are, I think I've seen like a photo of half of it.
Really?
But we've never found a good photo of the entire rocket ship. And you'd think for something that probably made its rounds, there was rumor about somebody who had actually found it at one point and was going to redo it, but I don't know if that ever happened. But yeah, it was like, oh my gosh. And then Blakey, if you're ever in an antique store in the Valley, or I would say probably even in Arizona, the Blakey glass.
Yes.
I mean, those were giveaways. You would fill up your tank, and for that, you would get a free glass.
You walk in, you go get a Stuckey's, what is it, the peanut logs, the little logs. You go, I know this is not a Stuckey's, that's another place, but you go in there on a long road trip, you get yourself a little snack, and you're going to buy yourself a collection of glasses, frosted glasses with Arizona, plants and cactuses on it. I mean, can you just imagine? I mean, even the printing, the colors of those, just somebody drew those out. I mean, There's also another set. There's also a picture and other glasses of all the native Arizona tribe people like Navajo, and like there's all these like other sets of glasses that were not as famous as the cactus ones.
Right,
so,
the cactus are definitely the most famous. With, and really it's kind of the frosted glasses as well, because the ones that are clear, you can't really see the images that well.
And are they expensive now? People just love these things. They are like becoming even more and more. I saw a set just like that, probably going for $400, $500, which is insane. That's with the carrying thing too, the little platter. That's insane. But yeah, those are just quintessential Arizona Blakey's. Can you come on? Like, you don't go to a gas station and buy glassware. That's just like the weirdest thing. But come on, you go to the gas station to buy some like a chocolate bar and fill up your tank and go. Like, you don't come home like, oh, I bought all these glasses too. So
right, and a tray.
And I bought a wood tray with it. So
right, exactly. So yeah, so I mean, I don't think you could buy them. I think they were just premium, so you had to keep going back to get the entire set. So it's kind of like a Happy Meal toy where, you have to keep going back to get the whole set of the toys. So. And so, I mean, so they were, I think if I remember seriously right, I think they actually started off in Chandler as a auto repair, and they realized, oh, the money was not in the repairing of them. The money was in keeping them going. So that's when they decided to get into the whole gas side of things.
and I showed you a photo. They even have their own brand of car batteries with their like logo on it. Like they have their own like, repair and supply stuff. Like they even changed their logo, like their font and tech, their text and all that over the years. I mean, 1960, a bigger company bought them out. I'm sure there in any other state, there's like local gas station companies that were known. This one's the best. You can't fight with a rocket ship as your kind of,
I mean, the branding, the iconic font, the moment you even see one of those letters, you know exactly what it's for.
And
that red.
There's an animation to that the thrust coming off the rocket. There's like a light bulb that goes.
We only hope there was some chasing
like that
going on that.
This is what I geek about. This is what I geek about when I drive around or look through magazines or anything. Those Arizona Days and Ways. You look at, sometimes they'll take an actual photograph and they'll print it in the magazine of these signs, and you're just wondering in your head, like, oh God, what color was that? Did it move? Did it blink? Did it, because there's like, I can't remember, in the Midwest somewhere, there's this giant ball with spikes. It looks like a giant starburst, and it rotates like this. It rotates around. They called it the rotosphere. Like, come on. Like, there's just really cool signage out there. And that one specifically, just having a rocket ship, anything that has to do with sci-fi or space in your ad or company logo. I mean,
in the late 50s, I mean, space was on the top of everybody's, the tip of everyone's tongue. Space was the new thing.
There's even that motel out in on your way to San Diego. You stop by the Space Age Motel. I mean,
indeed,
that's another great place. So there's just cool stuff like that. Science fiction, always. You always got to use it somehow in your advertisement.
Johnny's tips for marketing.
Why not?
Go sci-fi.
Put a spaceman in there somewhere.
All right. So what was the mascot for the local transit system?
Oh, Tico. It's just a historic name. We're in the Southwest. We're close to Mexico. Tico. Look at his little sombrero. He's got little dangly balls around his little. Look at his little sunglasses. This is talking about design, just simplicity. He's a sun. He's a ball. He's a circular glasses. The color choice is fantastic. It's plain and simple. It gets the idea across. This is the Southwest. This is Arizona. We're near Mexico. I mean, I did some research on this guy, and there isn't a whole lot of research. Like, they just said, oh, well, this is even on the Phoenix thing, like the official website, and they have like Tico Tuesday things. Like,
I saw that.
Yeah, and I tried to do as much research because I couldn't find the artist of this guy or who designed him or who came up with it. They just said, well, he just appeared in the late 70s, and this is what we use. Like, instead of Valley Metro, it was the Tico system. So, I mean, come on, that's another thing. I mean, that doesn't exist nowadays. You don't have these. I mean, that was it for the era. That was like, the 60s. You had this kind of, the 60s was still carrying on into the 70s. You still had this sort of same style of design and stuff like that. Some of that stuff never went away. And I think it was just a great simplistic logo. I found it really cool when I was looking through Arizona Days and Ways and other archival books and stuff. I mean, I found out about Tico. I'm like, I love this guy. I want a shirt with this guy on it. I mean, I want a sticker. He's
right. It's so iconic, and how it's persevered, even though the buses that had the Tico on it, those stopped. I mean, I think it became Dash, and then it was like, and then that stopped. I mean, and so Tico was used for just a few years and then shut down. And so it's still out there. People still like, oh, what a cool logo.
And just like examples of like logos, just like, these are like logos that just don't exist anymore. Like, just simplistic. They get the idea across, or they're anthropomorphic. They represent what it is. Like, it's just stuff like that doesn't exist. And I love that stuff. It's so
Johnny, so what is anthropomorphic?
Anthropomorphic. Well, there is also another thing in one of these questions that will go with it.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because
I will show you right here. So this is for the. I got examples here. I got the Carnation Creamery Company, the dairy company, and this is from 4140 North Central Avenue. Let's just say, I mean, look at this pamphlet And let's look at this little milk drop that has a halo on it.
Oh
that is where's my finger? That is anthropomorphic.
Wow, and I love how it's the purest little milk drop.
I know, he's heavenly. It's like,
wow.
So he's a little milk drop. He's a little drop of cream milk. I mean, that's anthropomorphic. Let's say like an orange with arms. Anthropomorphic. That's what it is. It's an object that has, you know, human features on it, limbs and stuff like that. I mean, I'm trying to think of other good examples right off the top of my head. I'm sure you see a lot of car stuff, a lot of automotive stuff uses them. This is why I brought up earlier, like the hot rod connection. There was a lot of decals in the 50s and 60s, like for just cams and like all batteries, just everything, racing fuel. They always came out little water slide decals like this one right here for Arizona that IMCO put out. They used to do decals. There's all kinds. There's different variations of these over the years, but simplistic color style. I mean, there's just something about it that's just so, I don't know. It's just so good. Stuff doesn't, I mean, everything is overly detailed now, or it's three-dimensional, and we've gone back. Now we're not doing three-dimensional stuff. I mean, even Facebook changed their logo. They're not three-dimensional, or Burger King changed their logo back to the 70s. Like, there's design. I mean, things are going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards.
Right.
It's hilarious. So.
And so our next is actually talking about not anthropomorphic, but actually a person playing a person. So what local mascot was sculpted by a Disney designer for a local coffee shop diner?
Let's reveal this. Hobo Joe.
Indeed. And I love the fact that there's still that Hobo Joe statue out in where is that Goodyear statue?
I think it's in Buckeye. It is in Buckeye.
Yes. I
actually went there. I actually saw this guy. This guy is 22. The guy in the cherry picker right there, that thing is like 23, 22 foot like high. It is giant. It is giant. And think when I did my research, Jim Casey, they didn't talk about his Disney. I did research on that, and they didn't really like discuss his Disney background, but he worked for Disney, did designs and stuff, like sketches and stuff for Disney. And he came out here, I think it was in the 70s, probably. Everybody came out in the 70s, apparently. But in the 70s, he came out and he helped design the miniature statues and the 22-foot statues. But there was only 3 of those statues made, and I guess 2 of them are gone, and that's the last one of all of them, unless there's one hidden in a giant warehouse somewhere in pieces I don't know about. But they used to have that, and I think if you go back, there's also the life-size ones that are like smaller. And here we go. We even got a smaller one.
Exactly. It's like, and so so
look at that. He's even got a dog with. I'd never seen the dog. That's cool.
So he's got the dog as well as
is the newspaper,
a little Wall Street Journal stuck in his pocket.
Very interesting. Does he have the cigar on the toothpick?
It's just a cigar in his hand. You
Well, the Hobo Joe logo was meant like, he was sophisticated. He had his little cigar on his little thing, and you go around and find the best things to eat. I guess that's kind of bringing that whole restaurant together. Like he curated his own restaurant. That's what the Hobo Joe guy is for. And I didn't go too deep on it, but I guess there was also mafia connections to the Hobo Joe restaurant too. So there's always a mafia guy somewhere to these businesses.
In Arizona, indeed, there was always a mafia connection.
God forbid your car blows up.
We just actually talked about that last week. Was the anniversary of Don Bowles and the bombing.
Yep.
And so, and Francine used to have her birthday parties there.
Really?
At Hobo Joe's.
Wow. Hobo Joe's is great, man. I mean, that's just, I wish they were around. I was too young. I really wish.
If everyone wants to go visit Hobo Joe's, Deborah was really good. And she just posted the address of where you can find him.
There it is.
So he's in downtown Buckeye in a parking lot. So
and the city of Buckeye wants you to go visit this guy. They spent a lot of money refurbishing him and everything. He's even next to a really cool cafe that everybody appreciates this statue. So
I remember when it suddenly disappeared and there was all this, what happened to it? Is it coming back? And so everyone's happy that it actually came back. The fear was that it might not.
It was sitting in a field next to like a garage, sitting on its side, like being rotted by the sun. I am so glad. I mean, when we drove out to Tehachapi, California. We're on our way, and I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, can we stop in Buckeye? Because I really want to see this Hobo Joe guy really, really bad. So we stopped. It was totally worth it. We were so tired from driving. It was such a long weekend, but it was so worth it to take our photo next to this 23, 22-foot guy. I mean, that also goes along with design and architecture and, you know, sort of this caricature cartoon thing. You know, you had also the muffler men and women. You know, the guy that holds the giant muffler, you might have seen him as a lumberjack holding a hot dog or something like that. I mean, that just goes along the side of the roadside attraction stuff. It all connects. It all connects somehow. So
indeed it does. So here's another Reg Manning question. So back in 1939, what industrial fixture did Reg Manning help the city of Phoenix design? And it was a light post.
The coolest light post. I can't believe nobody could fund this to make. They only made one. They couldn't even make two.
Right. They said it was too expensive to reproduce. I mean, everyone loves it.
It is. I don't know why the city of Phoenix has. I can't believe we can't just do one block with these on each side of the street. We got so much like advanced technology nowadays. We can 3D print these. I mean, come on. You can make them out of fiberglass. This was made out of steel, I believe. That's probably why it was so expensive to make. I think it was post-war because from the design of it, it's very deco, very modern looking. So, yeah, Reg Manning he sketched it out for the city of Phoenix, and the JCs.
Actually was for the JCs.
Oh, yeah, for the JCs. And by the way, well, I have a JC's rodeo championship booklet here, so.
That's right, because they used to sponsor the rodeo of rodeos.
They did, and there's just some great stuff in here. I mean, we just have like, look at these guys. Come on, you got like these like classic old boys, good old boys. So they're just, you know, you got like great ads in there too for. I mean, just the lighting. And this is what I'm talking about, like color stuff, Kodachrome photography nowadays. I mean, you just don't see stuff like this anymore.
Right. Yeah, and if you want to go see it, it's down. The park is Paseo Highlands Park. It's up at like 35th Avenue and Pinnacle Peak. And so that way you can stop and see that late 30s Reg Manning.
I haven't even seen it. I want to go see it. I've seen photos of it, but I want to go see it. So
it's spectacular. I mean, that's the only way to describe it.
I think we need to put like we need to get some signatures. We need to get another one of those. I swear that we need we need like a whole road full of these because I mean it's so cool.
They're indeed right. I mean, they're so iconic. And speaking of iconic, question 7: what local cartoonist had a contract with Del Webb for Sun City?
Here we go. We got another local cartoonist that moved here in the I think it was the early 40s. He moved out here. He did stuff for Del Webb. He did stuff for Philco Television. He did stuff for let's see. He did stuff for Brunswick Bowling. He was really prominent with Brunswick Bowling in the 50s. He also did this really not controversial, but it won him something. I can't remember, but he did this Philco ad with Hitler talking about Yeah, he's another great artist that lived here. He had a lot of connections with a lot of ad agencies out here in Phoenix, especially Del Webb. He did a lot of great little like 2-panel, 3-panel like cartoons for out here and many other magazines. He did stuff in other states as well, but he also worked with the Peanuts guy. I can't remember his name. Why can't I remember his name?
Schultz. Charles Schultz.
When he was out in Chicago, before he came out here to Phoenix, he befriended Charles Schultz, and he was really good friends with him. And they kind of have that similar style. In early Charles Schultz, he has that like circular style of like cartooning, and I even have like I also have examples again in this book. There he is. He also did stuff like this.
Oh, caricatures of some of the folks involved.
Yeah. I mean, look at the rodeo. Look at the face. The rodeo mouths. The letters are the mouths. I mean, that is just so fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, that's great with the word radio. Yeah.
I mean, you got like, yeah. So there's stuff like that. I mean, he did like Del Webb. He also did Hallcraft Homes. He did a bunch of ads for Hallcraft. I mean, it's just go back to Del Webb. See, I'm all over the place. I had a lot of coffee. Yeah, he did stuff for Del Webb. He did these little cool like buttons for like, you know, Sun City Homes and these little ashtrays and stuff like that. I think you even have an ashtray on your coffee table. I don't know if that's him.
Oh, I do. It is indeed. Yeah. It's him. So yeah. So I mean, so he was all over the place. I mean, he also did a national cartoon.
Yeah, the fanfare.
Right, exactly. And so fanfare. So he was known across the country.
And then it changed to fanfare later on in his career. So and he did a lot of sports stuff. He did a lot of, you know, a lot of sports cartoons, nothing political, but sports. So, but yeah, he's another Arizona cartoonist, you know. What were the other? Okay, so the other guy that was, so you had 4 choices. The other one was Egerton. Egerton, he was probably the A question or answer. Egerton, here's another Arizona Days and Ways. Here's another connection to this. Egerton also moved out here to Arizona. He was another cartoonist out here. He did stuff for the Arizona Days and Ways. I don't know if we have an example on the slideshow, but that's okay. He did the Arizona Days and Ways covers. He did these really great cartoon covers. There was one from 1957. It was for an auto show, the second annual Phoenix Auto Show. And he did this really cool like rendition of this car with like 4 different color headlights, like the futuristic, like over the top, you know, more car. And there's all these men like surrounded around the car, and they're all obsessed about this new car for 1957. And it's funny, they have like Miss Auto whatever on the stage, and everybody's not interested in her. The whole gag is hilarious, but it's such a great cover. And I mean, there's also another good cover of these 2 men carrying like the first electrical stove into a house. It's another. He did a book on Arizona too. He was also just like Reg Manning. He did a book about Arizona specific, you know, stuff. He's another Arizona cartoonist. Very great guy.
Right.
Good stuff.
All right. So did the Arizona State Fair ever use cartooning design to advertise the state fair?
Of course they did. They did some great stuff. I was about to pull out another. I mean, okay, first of all, we're going to talk about this guy. When I was last Saturday, when I saw this in the Arizona Days and Ways, I literally pushed myself off the table. I was like, this goes again. You have atomic age. This is 1957. So it's like super atomic age. We're in like this great, like pivotal time period of like, it's not the early 50s anymore. Teens are teens now. Things are getting more complicated. Like there's more electronical things in houses. Like there's just a lot going on right now. And the future is the future. Everything has, everything's all futuristic. So, I mean, just look at this guy. It's the state of Arizona wearing a cowboy hat, and he has a plunger. I guess he's turning on the Arizona State Fair from what I see. It's kind of weird because he could be blowing up there.
I was going to say, I'm like, but also if you look at his helmet, it's got a tube on it.
It does. It has like a weird second bulb thing on his head. Like it's like,
right. It's like a tube radio that would have plugged in to it. So I guess maybe it lit up.
Good example. I mean, the Jetsons, all their spaceships, all the homes had these giant dome bulb things over it. I mean, that was just like,
even the shape of his head being Arizona.
Come on. That is like super geeky. And you got the rocket ship, and you got this weird like atom, like
Yeah, I mean
like
that's such a great. I mean,
looking thing with all these little bulbs and stuff on it. Like
I didn't know the state fair used to have a wildlife display.
I swear
Indeed, I mean fine arts they still have.
they do.
No more. I don't think. No, they don't do the Miss Arizona contest anymore. I think out there.
No, they don't.
Oh, they still have races.
They still do have races. I even have. Yeah, I'm going to show something from my collection as well. I have one from 1952. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, a nice Barker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another Arizona State Fair. I even have like the layout of the Arizona State Fair in 1952. Like,
and I love that it's the Phoenix Gazette and the Arizona Republic.
So I don't know if we can see this, but
oh yeah,
the Arizona State Fair layout of 1952. You have like all the programs. You can see what you want to do every day. So
wow,
the cover. I mean, look at this little Hispanic fella. I mean, he's very joyful. He's just welcoming you to the Arizona State Fair. Look at that. You can't make these things up. They're just so great.
Indeed.
So, but yeah, no, the Arizona State Fair, every year there's actually an archive online. You can see all the programs for each year. They had the covers. There was some good ones. There was just ones that had no cartoon in it. It was just kind of like a background scene, stuff like that. But just Arizona State Fair never disappoints. So.
Indeed. All right. So question 9, artist Bert Anthony, who created and illustrated the ASU Sparky mascot, modeled it after a very well-known person. And who was that?
The devil himself, Walt Disney. Well, in 1941, there was this is not related to him, but it kind of relates. Walt Disney's kind of personality. He was a very conservative man. In 1941, there was a cartoonist strike because there was other studios like MGM and Universal. They all wanted to unionize. They wanted union. They wanted a union. They were, it was a team of people. They wanted benefits. They wanted to make sure their job was secure. Mr. Walt Disney didn't want that. He didn't believe in that. So there was a lot of people that left the Disney studios, and he just, you do Disney way or you don't do it at all. So
very much so.
A lot of those people that worked for Disney went to work for MGM or, Warner Brothers or anything like that. I mean, but he left because, he got fired. He probably said he probably wasn't doing what Walt Disney wanted Walt Disney to do. This is not Disney. You need to leave. So guess what? You turn the devil into the devil. So
right into the devil, ASU still to this day says that there is no connection.
No.
But that's why I'm like, look at that photo.
No offense to the Disney files out there, but come on, there's a bit of a cult following here, and
indeed,
you're drinking the Kool-Aid. You're gonna be like as Mr. Marshall Shore here just came from Disneyland. Did you get?
I mean, it's like, so I was actually doing it. So I thought this is a great time to bring up that it's like, so the end of this month and next month, we are doing Disney in Arizona as part of the summer reading program for the Maricopa County Library District. So I know there's several libraries I'm going to be visiting, talking about Disney and all not all the things, because there's so much that Disney has connections to right here in Arizona.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I was like, this will be the perfect time to plug that. So check your local library and see if they have me coming.
Go to the library, people. It's so great. You learn a lot.
Indeed. Oh, and there's okay. Uh-oh. So our last question: which artist settled back in Arizona and did art for Legend City and adult cartoons in the 70s?
Mr. Wayne Horn here. I know his son is probably watching or not. Who knows? But Mr. Doug Horn and Wayne Horn, that is, Wayne Horn's his father, Doug is his son. He settled here in the 70s. He used to, I think he worked for Motorola here. And he was a freelancer. He did stuff for girly magazines, stuff your dad would probably hide in his suit pocket or in his side drawer. You know, they had nudie pictures of girls, and there was gags along with it. You know, pretty provocative stuff. But yeah, he did. He worked for Legend City. Worked did as you see here on this billboard. It's a great billboard. I mean, it's super psychedelic looking, and this is probably very 70s design. I mean, look at the. I mean, if you look at just what's coming out of the gun, I mean, that's so free love looking. So, you know, he did a bunch of billboards. He even did the ticket stubs and stuff like that. So he's another great Arizona artist that settled here and, you know, made Arizona what it is and interesting visually.
Right.
So he's another guy in the halls of all these great artists that came here. So, and like I said, I'm obsessed with these vintage, all the vintage art design. These guys are the ones that really propelled a lot of stuff what's going on today. I mean, you look at, okay, here's a certain example. I mean, look at the Little Caesars guy. The Little Caesars guy is so 50s. He has the big bulbous, you know, like peanut looking nose. Like there's stuff that's there's still remnants of that stuff here, you know, nowadays. And, you know, that stuff was just so simplistic. And that goes back to talking about Walt Disney. All those guys that left the Disney studios went on to work for other studios. And, you know, those guys never fit into that mold. And they came up, they worked for animation studios, they worked for ad agencies. They came up with these like very jazz, you can say jazz, modern, mid-century looking like art. Nothing was realistic looking. It was all shapes, you know, simplistic stuff. It just, you know, it looked like an abstract painting when you looked at it. Right. It was very simple, but it got the idea across. And, you know, anyways, going back to Mr. Wayne, he's still alive. He still lives here in Phoenix, and he's still doing what he's doing. He's still doing art, still kicking. And
nice.
I've actually met the guy once. I went over to his house. He has a great house. But I actually look forward to talking to him more. I actually want to sit down and talk to him about a lot of the things that he's done and just ask him questions as a fellow artist. He's just looking through this book. I would buy this, the Gallon Gags book. I think we had it up there. It's so good. It's super good. I mean, you don't have to buy it for the girly art. I know this is probably provocative to some viewers, but he's an Arizona guy, and I personally love this stuff because I've done stuff for pinup magazines. I've done these single, you know, panel gag stuff, and he was a very big influence. I mean, I have a whole shelf over here full of these little pocket-sized, you know, magazines, and there's something charming about these cartoons. It's not even the gags or like the situation. It's just the art style that like very attracts me. It's the colors.
Well, and I love it's like, so Ryan just made the comment about how it's amazing how stuff comes back around. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and I think it's kind of like, I think especially here in the Valley, we're kind of in the middle of I would say a renaissance of kind of graphic arts. You now have a lot of folks who are really looking at the design and playing around with some of that.
You got a lot of people are now, not just music and fashion wise, the 70s and 80s are coming back around. They have been around for a little while. Those people are now just, I mean, with like Stranger Things and stuff, it's like opening everybody's eyes to like the 80s now. But like,
right,
you're getting all these like throwbacks to the 80s and 70s, and watch the 60s and 50s and 40s will come back around probably. Everything always makes a comeback. I mean, the 90s was all 40s big band stuff. So, and like even 60s, like, you know, modern mod stuff. So, I mean, we're just getting it again. You're just going to keep getting it. Somebody's going to be like, wow, that's really cool. I saw my grandfather's 78s. I really like the sound of those, so I'm going to replicate that. So it's all going to come back around. But guess what? It's all going away too, because all these people are dying. They're not going to live forever, but
right. It's definitely an art form that's changing and is now more digital, as opposed to a lot of it used to be hand drawn. So it's a very different form.
And that's why I want to talk to this guy before he goes away anywhere.
Exactly. As well, you should.
You got to talk to these people. I mean, they don't exist anymore. They have all of this knowledge that is not written down. They couldn't afford. Somebody couldn't have been a ghostwriter for them. I mean, they're just a family person, or they never had a family, and you just got to.
Well, and so often, I mean, it's kind of like Glenn Guyette, who designed so many signs. It's like I was just doing my job. He's like, I didn't do anything spectacular. I just did my job. And it's like, but looking at it 40 years retrospective, it's like, but look at what you did. You added this fabric that helped make Arizona, Arizona.
I mean, look at, all right, this shirt's really cool. This is, I don't know if I get like a good shot of this shirt, but it's really hard to see. But it's a cowboy. It's for Phoenix, Arizona, the roller drome. It's a cowboy on roller skates. Come on.
Right.
How can that was an ad in a magazine? So it was a cowboy on roller skates.
Right.
I mean, come on. So it's just I miss all of this kooky stuff that they used to just, anthropomorphic characters. Just that stuff just doesn't exist. I mean, we still got the the $5 pizza guy. We still got Little Caesars.
Right.
We just don't have I miss mascots for companies. I miss mascots. Mascots just need to make a comeback. And that this is another great book to pick up, Meet Mr. Product. There's just so many mascots for things, like the minuscule things.
Right.
And it's insane.
Indeed. Well, all right. So as we wind down, I always love to ask people how they did. I mean, I know Francine, I think, got at least 3 right. But, I always tell people it's not how many you got right, but look at the stories, the conversation, the things you'll now look at in a different way. So maybe you'll actually make your way to the Arizona room and check out some of those Arizona days and ways.
There's really cool bells out front of the Arizona.
Right, exactly. I mean, they have a really amazing, some of those bells from Arco Sante, those Solari bells, they've got a huge thing.
If you're really into really cool mid-century modern design, some really cool bells there. Some really cool bells. They even let you ring them. They let you ring the bells in the library when you're supposed to be very quiet.
And look, Francine got 5 right. Well done, Francine.
Look at you
and
go.
Pam and Anita got 6 out of 10.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Move over, Francine.
So, but we're all winners here. And Johnny, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your passion with graphic design.
Thanks for letting me be geeky and actually share this with somebody, because I feel a little crazy and just kept to myself about this stuff. It's like that meme of that guy holding a drink at the party, like nobody knows that I know these things. Like they don't even know.
Well, now they do.
Yes.
So very good. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night.
Oh, thank you.
And I will talk to you soon.
Oh, I'm sure you very will.
I will. Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. So now we're going to do From the Vault. And so From the Vault, since we're kind of talking about iconic graphic things, I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about something that, if you're up in Sun City. So, there are a variety of kind of parks up there that are rec centers, kind of arts communities offering a lot of classes. And so some of them have iconic things to go with them. And so that is indeed Sun City Sundial. And so it is one of the largest sundials in America, designed in 1973. And the headline in 73 was that people were shocked that Del Webb was spending $2,800 on that you can use to tell the time with. And I think it's really cool that people can go and still see it today. Why, you can go up at, what is it? It's like Boswell and Greenway. And you can go see Arizona's largest sundial. Now, it was refurbished about a decade ago, so it looks really good again. And so make a trip out there to Sun City. And while you're out there, go visit the Sun City Museum, which is one of my favorite museums in town because it's so quirky. And it's the first house that Del Webb built for Sun City. So it's number 1. All right. So now you'll see why I say, if you're watching on share, if you're watching on Facebook, there's that share button. So please do, so others can see how much fun we're having. Now, next week, we have my friend Eva Steele, who is a local performer, as well as she is a pageant winner. And she's going to be coming on and talking to us about kind of the type of shows, her history. It's going to be an amazing show. So be sure and join us next week, 7 o'clock Thursday night, same bat time, same bat channel. And always remember, if you have any questions, you can either throw them in the chat or feel free to email me or reach out other ways, because I love to hear from you all, because that's how I get my best stories, is by what you're sharing. I always love to give a shout out to Chris and Cole, who did that great video, and PJ for alerting me to yet another really cool. Oh, it doesn't like the green screen. Oh, that doesn't really. Oh, I'm disappearing there. It doesn't like that at all. So, but indeed, you get a coyote howling at the moon for Howlin' Oats. All right. So tonight we're going to leave everyone with Legend City. A little intro to that. So you'll get to see the entrance, the sign. And in case you didn't never go to Legend City, it closed in the mid-'80s, opened in the mid-'60s, and was kind of like our version of Disneyland in so many ways. So everyone, have a great rest of your night, and I will see you next week. Thank you all for being here. Oh, and there is no sound for this, so don't worry if you think, oh, wait a minute, everything's all quiet. That's because there is nothing there. So, but it is well worth watching. And I mean, just look at those that would get you, those little carts that would get you from the parking lot into the entryway. And so Lewis Crandall opened this park. What I love is a lot of these folks are his family. So I've actually been able to show this video to some of them, and they'll be like, hey, that's Aunt so-and-so. And so that's been a lot of fun sharing this around with family and other folks. The Tempe History Museum did a great exhibit of this a couple of years ago, and there's been talk. Oh, and there is Lewis Crandall. There's been talk of them actually wanting to do the second part of that, because so many people have stepped forward and said, hey, I have this from Legend City. And there they have their own little version of you could get in a car and drive. So this was such an amazing park. Sadly, I was never able to go, but I can relive moments through this. They had their own version of the Jungle Cruise. And so everybody, thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see you next week.